Okay, so for part E, it says for c is bigger than 0, find the set of values of c such that the graph of y equals f of x has 1 x-intercept, 2 x-intercepts, and 3 x-intercepts, and exactly. Okay, so what they're actually talking about graphically, I just want to show you these graphically. 1 x-intercept will be a graph that looks like this. So they're all cubics, they're all going, and they all have a max and a min, so they all go like this. They all go something like that. But so they're all going to have an x-intercept here. The maximum is always going to be positive because c is 0. The maximum is always going to be positive. So the turning point, the first turning point, the maximum is always going to be like this. It's always going to be here somewhere. Now, the y coordinate of the minimum, if this is to have one x-intercept, it can't come down and cross the x-axis again. It has to just come down and not cross the x-axis. So what that means is this minimum point here has to be bigger than 0. So that's the key to the first part. The second part, to have exactly 2 x-intercepts, again, the maximum is going to be here, so it's going to go up. Maximum's there. Now exactly 2, it's just, hang on, let me do that again. It's gonna just touch it once, and now I've got 2 roots, and the minimum is on the x-axis, which means the y coordinate of the minimum, which is this, has to equal 0. And then finally, for it to have 3 x-intercepts, it's going to go up, down, cross the x-axis, and cross the x-axis again. Here, my minimum is going to have to be negative because it's below the x-axis. So here you can see this situation, we've 1 root. This situation, we've 2 roots. In this situation, we've 3 roots. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm focusing on the y coordinate of the minimum. In this situation, so this is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. For this guy, the y coordinate of the minimum has to be bigger than 0, so let's write that down. The y coordinate of the minimum, which is minus 2c to the power of 3 over 2 plus 2, this has to be bigger than 0. For this to be bigger than 0, just be careful with inequalities, guys. I'm going to add the minus 2c to the 3 over 2 to the right of the inequality. I can do that and just change the sign. So 2 is greater than 2c to the 3 over 2. So that's fine, just like a normal equation. I can divide by 2. So 1 is greater than c to the 3 over 2. So c to the 3 over 2 has to be less than 1. How can this be less than 1? Well, c, because this power is bigger than 1, c has to be less than 1. So c has to be less than 1. And we know c is bigger than 0. So c is less than 1 and bigger than 0. Okay, so that's the answer to the first one. Part 2. What did we say? Well, the minimum now has to equal 0. So the minimum, the y coordinate of the minimum, my minus 2c to the 3 over 2 plus 2 has to equal 0. I can just solve this as an equation. C to the 3 over 2, okay, 2c to the 3 over 2 equals 2. Hope you're okay with that. C to the 3 over 2 equals 1 because I divide by 2. So c has to equal 1. What to the power of 3 over 2 gives me 1? Well, it has to be 1. So that's the answer. And then finally, to have 3 roots, this thing has to be less than 0. So I have my minus 2c to the 3 over 2 plus 2 has to be less than 0. So solving it a bit like this, I can say 2c to the 3 over 2 is greater than 2. That's just adding this to the right and then kind of flipping them around. C to the 3 over 2 has to be bigger than 1. How can c to the power of 3 over 2 be bigger than 1? What must c be? Well, c must be bigger than 1. Because think about it. You could graph this, guys, if you're not clear exactly why that's the case, but I think it's pretty intuitive. How can you get a number, if you raise a number to the power of 3 over 2 and it's bigger than 1, what must that original number be? Well, it has to be bigger than 1. Because again, this power is bigger than 1. Okay, that's it. So that's I. That's the answer for part 1, where it's it has 1 x-intercept. This is the value of c. Sorry, the set of values of c where it has 1 x-axis intercept. This is the value of c where it has 2, and this has 3. Okay, that's it.